So I met Drew in the late 70s, and we were playing Little League together. We were on the same team. We would have been like 9 or 10 years old. You know, we really became friends right after high school, kind of at the end of our high school years, and we really developed a friendship that was part of that transition years where you kind of become an adult. You know, it was through a lot of those moments, you know, we got to know each other and did a lot of things together that, you know, foster a good, strong friendship.
Well, Drew and I played youth hockey together. Gosh, 1980, 81. And we met in 1987, years later, in Paris, France, of all places. We started playing guitar. And I had just started playing guitar. I probably had played for less than a year, and Drew was already a pro by that time. And from that day on, we were pretty much inseparable and played guitar every single day.
I met Drew in 2006 in Leadership Music when he walked up to me and asked me about myself. And we quickly discovered that we both have a passion for fishing. For 15 years, we went to Canada, and we went to Arkansas, and we went to Brazil, and we went all over fishing.
You know, one trip I remember up in Canada and went fishing, but, you know, Drew was our leader. Like he organized it, and he was the best fisherman of the group, and, you know, he taught me to fish. You know, Drew said, all right, Brax, we're gonna teach you to fish. And he took the time to do it, you know. He shared his expertise, just like he had taught me a lot about how to play guitar.
Drew wasn't just a musician, but he also loved language. And so it took me a while as an adult to figure out how perfect the life path he chose was, because he wasn't, you know, only, you know, a guitar player or a piano player. He was also into the poetry of it, and he really knew a lot about words. It wasn't really until recently that I thought that, oh, isn't that really like a perfect representation of both my mom and my dad in Drew? Because of course, you know, Lamar was the piano player and wanted us all to be musicians, and Drew kind of took this life path that he never got to take. That was the music side, but my mom is really like a words person, but Drew shared that, and that's kind of one of the things that I always really appreciated about him and then realized later.
He was 10 years older than me, and I always wanted to do what Drew was doing, you know, looking up to him. As I would advance or attain, you know, whatever maturity he thought was appropriate, he would introduce me to new things. And he had what he'd call my cool name, and then my name that wasn't so cool. But when I was being cool, I was known as Bill. And when I was whining or acting like a little brat, he'd call me Baby Gazimanus.
You know, Drew was into nicknames. I don't know, Drew something, I couldn't keep up with all the nicknames, but Luggage, Johnny Bananas was a nickname. Will was Brother Will. There was Spicy. There were other nicknames. I know I became Crazy Buxton. Then he shortened that to Bucky.
He could nickname anything. Drew Altman is Eki Pahe. And the story behind that is he didn't pick us up from the airport once when he was supposed to, so we called him Luggage. He called my father Craypaw. That was his granddaddy name. And I mean, he called his dog Muckaticka, you know, and he would just go around. And I'm sure a lot of the songwriters he worked with all the time have nicknames that we don't even know about.
Always growing up, Drew had animals, like a lot of animals. Like we had a million dogs, and I always had the cats, but Drew had chickens. At one point he had an armadillo. He had snakes and mice and guinea pig after guinea pig after guinea pig. And one of the things that I always thought was so funny about him is that he could name them really, really well. Like all of his animals had really good names.
In those post-high school years, you know, like a mutual friend of ours had gone, you know, he had to spend the night in the hospital, for something that needed to be treated. And I remember saying to Drew, hey, maybe we should go see a friend in the hospital. He's like, yeah, we should. And he grabbed his guitar and we went down and just paid a visit to somebody and played some music. And I remember that there was this sense about Drew of, wanting to, connect with people, particularly, people in his community and make them feel at home.
It was after the tornado in 1998. Drew said, I'm gonna go to the hardware store and I'm gonna buy a bunch of rakes and shovels and stuff. And it turned out to be the one thing that everyone really needed. And it's just that kind of thinking that I think defined him in a way. Like, that's when I thought to myself, wow, here's somebody who truly cares about his community.
I had an opportunity to live with Drew for the last couple of years. I learned that his motto was give more than you take. And I watched him live that over and over. One of Drew's favorite things to do was raise money. He had a soft spot for the homeless.
He had his passions for food as well and feeding the homeless. He invited my daughter, Taylor, to join him when he would go down to the food kitchen.
Drew would walk right here, 1 block up to West End and catch the bus, and he'd take it downtown to feed the homeless at lunch. We found Drew's Second Harvest Food Bank name tag in one of his drawers.
Well, I think the thing about Drew is he always had a big heart, and because of that, he had friends that spanned the entire spectrum. He saw everybody in the the same light. There was no pretense. He saw people for what they were, and he had such a variety of interesting friends from all walks of life, and people that he kept up with, and people that he that he helped in all his own on all his own ways.
Drew loved his daughters, Helen and Lauren. He loved to cook for them. He loved to make Japanese food and carnitas, and he was a great cook. But his favorite thing was movie night with the girls. I had an opportunity at Christmas of 2020 to pick a film, and I chose one that has been a family tradition in my house, It's a Wonderful Life. And as I sat and I thought about what I'd say about Drew, it occurred to me how much he is like George Bailey. Drew touched lives everywhere he went, but he was too humble to really realize the impact that he had. And what I'd like for everyone to do now is take a moment to think about what your life might have been like had Drew Alexander not been a part of it.